Hello everyone, this is Bro Wimsat. We're going to begin the first watercraft decontamination presentation. This first one is going to be outlining equipment and site layout. Our goal of watercraft decontamination is to intercept and decontaminate watercrafts that are intentionally or unintentionally transporting aquatic invasive species to reduce their spread of establishment into new waterways. As a decontamination technician, you have four primary responsibilities while in the field. The first one is you're going to be inspecting watercrafts for aquatic invasive species. Secondly, you're going to be educating the public. Next, you're going to be operating and maintaining decontamination equipment. And last, you're going to be actually performing these watercraft decontaminations on vessels. So listed here are the current watercraft decontamination stations that AWI manages. These include both lakeside boat launch ones as well as roadside locations. So you can see for some of them, such as Star Lake or Colton, they are indicated as roadside on the side of them. Those ones are locations that aren't at a physical boat launch. They're at a roadside pull-off location, like a tech stop or a rest area, whereas the rest of them are at a physical boat launch on a water body. Now we're going to jump into what are the pressure washers that we actually use to perform these watercraft decontaminations. Listed here are the four pressure washers that we have within our program. We primarily use LANDA. The three units that we have through them are the LANDA MHC, the Mobile Hot Compact, the LANDA PHW, the Portable Hot Water, the LANDA ECOS, the Environmentally Clean Operating System, and the Hydrotech Mobile Wash Skid. So up first here we have the LANDA MHC, the Mobile Hot Compact. During your field season, we're going to be just referring to this as the MHC. So this is a commercial grade hot water pressure washer. It runs on a gasoline engine and it has a diesel or kerosene hot water burner that actually heats the water up. So it's important to note with this model, it is our smaller model and it doesn't have water supplied on board. So therefore we have to have an external water tank for this model. This is the LANDA PHW, the portable hot water. So again, this is another smaller LANDA unit. It's a commercial grade pressure washer. And it also has the diesel kerosene hot water burner. The difference between this one and the previous one, the MHC, is this one has an electric motor. So you actually need 220 amp hookup to be able to run this one. Thus, this is not a very popular unit. We actually only have one of these within our program, and it's located at Upper Saranac Lake. Next, we have the LANDA ECOS. This is the Environmentally Clean Operating System. So this piece of equipment is kind of our bread and butter for our program. So once again, it's a commercial grade pressure washer. It's built on a dual axle trailer, whereas the other ones are a much smaller compact model. So again, this one has a diesel kerosene hot water burner on it that allows us to heat up the water to our desired temperatures. But what's unique about this one, it's an all-inclusive unit. So unlike the MHCs, it has onboard water. The yellow tanks pictured on the back of it, they actually hold 400 gallons of water that you're then able to use that as your water supply. Additionally, this unit also has a water reclaiming vacuum system. So when using this with the wash water containment pad, you're able to actually reclaim and vacuum up the water that you've already used to be able to use on future watercraft decontaminations. Lastly, we have the Hydrotech Mobile Wash Skid. Similarly to the PHW, we only have one of these in our program at this time, and it is located at Frontier Town. And so once again, it's a commercial grade pressure washer that's built on a dual axle trailer. It is run on a gasoline engine and has a diesel kerosene hot water burner. Similarly to the ECOS unit, this is an all-in-one system where it holds 400 gallons of water on board as well as has a vacuuming reclaiming water system. As we move forward through this course, we're going to go into a lot of the attachments and tools in further detail. But for right now, I'm just going to give a quick overview of some of the equipment and attachments that you're likely to be finding in your shed or on the pressure washers themselves. So in the bottom left picture, you're going to see a pair of lower unit flushing muffs. Those are used to perform an engine flush on outboard motors or inboard outboard motors. In the center picture on the bottom, you're going to see a Fake-A-Lake. That is another motor flushing tool that's used to perform motor flushes on true inboard motors. The top right picture, that is what our program refers to as the wand. That's what actually dispenses the water out of the valve gun and is used to perform the bulk of the watercraft decontamination by spraying water. And in the bottom right-hand picture, that is our low pressure hose. So that will be able to quickly disconnect and connect to the valve gun to be able to administer low pressure hot water. Again, I'm just going to jump into a few more pieces of equipment that you're likely to find within your workshed this summer. So we're going to have scrapers, brushes, and flashlights. Those are just going to be tools that are going to aid you in removing AIS from a boat, such as zebra mussels that might be encrusted on the transom of a boat. Personal protection equipment, we're going to have hard hats, vests, safety glasses, face shields for you. You'll also find petroleum oil absorbent pads for any oil spills or residue that comes off of the back or inside of boats. We're going to have sample collection containers for found AIS samples. You're going to have tables, display materials, and chairs, as well as directional signage and safety cones to properly direct traffic through your location. Pictured in this slide are the pressure washer tips that we utilize within our program. So we're going to be using the green 25-degree tip and the white 40-degree tip. We also use low pressure. However, we don't use the specific black nozzle tip for our program. We utilize the low pressure hose that was shown in the previous slides. It's very important to note, we do not use the 0-degree red tip or the 15-degree yellow tip. Both of these have far too confined of a spray, which ultimately causes damage to the watercraft. So this is a quick look into what the site layout for LANDA Eco Station would look like. So being that this is a larger trailer size decontamination unit, we have a larger shed that accommodates the entire unit. So when you're operating this pressure washer, there's garage doors on either end of the shed that will open up and allow you to use the pressure washer while it stays inside the shed. So this yellow pad that's pictured in the center of the left picture as well as the right, those are the water containment pads. Those are set up for the watercraft to be trailered over the top of that pad and then be decontaminated on that pad, allowing the Ecos unit to be able to use the reclaiming feature to vacuum up that water after the decontamination is done. So this is a look into the LANDA MHC site layout. Being that these are the smaller units, they're easily pushed and maneuvered. We have you remove them from the shed each day to be able to be operated from outside. Again, these units do not have onboard water, so we have an additional auxiliary 500-gallon water tank that we use to feed these systems, pictured in the right-hand picture. In this image, you will see a site layout map for the Northville Decontamination Station boat launch located on Great Sacandaga Lake. For every decontamination station we have, there's a site layout map that's going to be provided within the decon shed. So the importance to these maps is for you to understand how traffic flows through the launch and in the parking lot. It's part of your responsibility to make sure that when you set up your equipment each day, that you're not impeding that traffic flow and thus causing traffic jams or confusion when boaters are entering and exiting the launch. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the gravity feed system of the MHC. So once again, these units don't have onboard water, so we have to provide an auxiliary water tank as a water supply for the unit. Most of our locations won't have a water spigot on the side of a shed somewhere, so that's why we need to provide this additional water source for it. So you'll see in the right-hand side of this image, that white bin-looking tub, that is the water tank that we use. It holds about 500 gallons of water in it, and it sits on a lattice work of 4x4 cants that allows it to get it high enough off the ground where it can properly gravity feed into the pressure washer itself. So it's important to note, in order for the pressure washers to work properly, we need to achieve 5 gallons per minute of feed rate. In order to do that, we need to have at least 1/3 of the tank full. So if your tank is getting below 1/3, you need to notify myself or your supervisor that the tank is getting low on water. This image gives you a little bit of a greater understanding of how these two pieces of equipment work together. So on the left, we obviously have the water tank on its built structure. In between the two is where the water hose is connected. There's going to be an on-off valve pictured in black with then water that feeds down to the MHC. The connection to it is on the front end of the pressure washer right next to the motor itself. So when you're hooking up the water to the MHC, a lot of times you still have air in the lines before you feed water down to it. So commonly when you first start running your pressure washer when water's hooked up, you won't always have the water pressure that you might be anticipating. The most likely cause of this is by having air trapped in the line. So in order to fix that, what you need to do is with the water on, with flow going to the pressure washer, you can back off the hose, allowing air to be burped out of it while water is then passing through. This technique will be something that we train in the field with and hands-on so that you have in-person training with that. Now we're going to take a look at how water moves through the MHC and is heated. So first, bottom left corner, water comes into the pressure washer on the front face to the water intake port on the bottom left face next to the motor. The water is coming in from either an auxiliary water tank or a water spigot, whatever you have available. Next, the water goes into the center of the MHC unit where the pump is located. The pump then pressurizes the water and sends it up to the top portion of the unit where the coil is located. The coil is the part of the machine that ultimately allows the water to be heated to the selected temperature on the thermostat. From the coil, the water is then directed to the hose and to the wand, where it's then dispensed into whatever application you have, whether it's the wand with high pressure or the low pressure hose itself, and used to perform the decontamination. Just remember, at this time, that water is hot. It's not only just the water that's hot, it's also heating up the hose, the metal connections, and any part along the end of the wand itself. So the direct drive system of the MHC, it's very effective and it works well, but it has its flaws. So this has to do with the pump in the center of the pressure washer that I had just mentioned in the previous slide. So that pump is used to pressurize the water and then send it up to the coil to be heated. However, in this system, the pump is always moving. And if something is always moving in an internal engine application, it's creating heat. And so the way that this pump cools itself is by the cold or just air temperature water being fed into it is what keeps it at proper operating temperature. So for our application, if the pressure washer is on, that means the pump's moving. If the pump's moving, it's creating heat. So if you're not dispensing water to the pump, that means the pump is going to be getting too hot. So while we're performing watercraft decontaminations, what you need to make sure of is that if you aren't actively washing the boat, that you're dispensing water at least every 30 seconds to be able to make sure that the pump is staying cool enough.